Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is 3:30. If I can have your attention. Everything on here? On? Okay, good. Good. All right. Okay, it's 3:30 and I'm going to call to order the Personnel and Compensation Committee meeting for today, Monday, November 18th, 2024. Can I ask you to please silence your cell phones and electronic devices? And at this time, please rise for the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Kelly, roll call, please.
Ben?
Here.
Fagion? Here. Luba?
Present.
Suda? Vidal?
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Present, one.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We have a pretty full agenda here, so I'll move things along. First up, we have our district attorney, Mr. David Hoovler. Come on up, please. And we have two requests here. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Number one is a request to create two criminal investigative positions for the Orange County Drug Task Force. Funds from the AIDS to Prosecution Grant will be used to offset the salary and fringe benefit costs for these positions. Legislative request number 246. Motion in a second.
Second.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Hoover, go ahead.
Sure, we're requesting these two positions for the Drug Task Force. They're entirely grant funded from the Aid to Prosecution Grant. From 24, which was 1.196 million, we've spent approximately $163,000 of that money at this point. The two positions will aid us in going after large-scale drug trafficking organizations.
Any questions? Legislator Benton, go ahead.
When would you expect to have these guys on board? Or people, I should say. not
Within
you
weeks.
guys.
Within weeks.
Oh, nice. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Legislator O'Donnell.
When does the grant run out?
Have to check with the governor. It's been coming, the aid to prosecution has been around since, I want to say, 1997, 1998.
And it's about the same amount of money.
No. No, it's,
So we just got this year, it's 1.6.
yes, and you got, last year, you got, it went from about 100,000 in the year before to 1.96 because of caseload and data. The data from all the body cams and everything, how it's measured and coming in. So based upon what the caseload is and what the data is, they increase the money on that.
So it's like a running grant.
Mm-hmm.
So last year they gave you some, this year they gave you this, next year you expect. So it really doesn't have an end date.
No, the original when, the only one that sort of may have an end date is Discovery, which when we accepted the first one in 2021, which was 1.7 million, the county, when they originally signed off on it, the county agreed that they would continue any positions or anything created on that grant from 21, and that's been continued every year since. Matter of fact, we just got the award for that today. That is 1.6 million additionally. And probably at the end of the day, the district attorney's office probably this past year, we have $7.5 million worth of grants that have come in just in the last year, just for us alone. And again, we're getting now for 25 is coming in, 1.6 is coming in for 25. So
Okay, so I'll do the same way I do with the other grant positions. Just add some language that when the grant goes away, the positions go away. That's standard procedure with every position we do with grants.
I'll second. Okay. So motion on the floor. Basically, when the grant funding dries up, the position is eliminated, correct? Legislator O'Donnell?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. I mean, to the district attorney's point, he's been, since the beginning, talking about a lot of these grants. Dave, I know we've had many conversations that New York is famous for providing all of this money, and then all the counties are creating all these positions. We have to hope that that grant money continues to come. There's no reason to think it won't, but then again, we don't know. So, and you've said that from the very beginning, that, you know,
But the one we did sign off on in 21, that's been continually since 21, in that grant, the original wording is that because it was done to aid with discovery reform, anything related to that grant, the county agreed. You guys agreed to when you signed off on it in 21 and every year since, that those positions stay.
okay, good. Okay, number 2, request to create one senior criminal investigator position to
Gotta
supervise.
vote on this one, right?
We
As
did.
amended. No, we gotta do it.
Okay, I'm sorry, we voted on the amendment. All in favor of number 1, I'm sorry.
Aye.
As amended, yeah. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so carried. Number 2, request to create one senior criminal investigator position to supervise the recently created white collar task force. Funds from the AIDS to Prosecution Grant will be used to offset the salary and fringe benefit costs for these positions. Legislative request number 246.
So,
Kathy and Kevin there. Okay.
yeah, this is strictly a function of the caseload. We do this jointly with the sheriff's office. We need a supervisor on our side. We're thinking John Heppis, promoting him to this position. He has well over 30 years' experience. He'll be a good leader for this and can help us as we move forward. It's almost the same as the other two. It's just more money for him. And it comes from the same thing, aid to prosecution.
Any questions?
So that could be almost immediately then.
Yeah, for him.
Thank you.
Let's
So
have
just
this on.
make the same motion on item number 1.
Okay, motion and second to amend the request to eliminate the position once the funding has dried up. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so carried. All in favor of the, I'm sorry.
Can you just give the public a little background, the new white collar task force?
White Collar Task Force took effect, I believe, in, it's about a year and a half, 2 years. It's a combination with the sheriff's office. It was created to pick up low-level white collar crime, lien law cases, incidents that the local police departments have trouble investigating. It's primarily run by the sheriff's office, some investigators there, and investigators in my office. Actually, Mr. Moran is the supervisor for the unit. You want to give him a flavor of some of the cases?
Sure. We started it in about a year and a half ago in March of 23. Started off with not many cases at all, but it's kind of expanded a lot. What we saw initially was that there was a certain amount of cases in Orange County that the police departments individually, especially the smaller ones, weren't able to give as much attention to as they needed to. These are very labor-intensive cases. You're dealing with thousands of documents and things like that. We do a wide variety of cases, everything from workers' comp fraud to tax fraud to insurance fraud, embezzlement cases, and things of that nature. Lien law cases, which is otherwise known as contractor fraud. Someone hires a contractor, if they don't come, they don't do any work. Most people think it's civil. A lot of times they go to a police department who tells them it's civil, but the reality is that it's a crime that can be prosecuted and things of that nature. So it's really ballooned into a lot of different kinds of cases, but again, they're so labor intensive and do need somewhat of an expertise. We now have a unit that's composed mostly of sheriff's investigators and DA investigators, but also several different police departments are members of it, including Village of Warwick, Woodbury, Crawford has somebody there. And so it's become pretty extensive, and we actually do need more manpower there to keep up.
And you work closely with the FBI, white collar crime? Unit?
Yes, we work with them a lot. We work with the Department of Taxation and Finance, the Inspector General's office, the Attorney General's office. Yep.
And we have a TFO. One of our investigators is assigned to FBI white collar crime.
Assigned over there, one of the investigators or an ADA?
No, one of our investigators.
Do you have an ADA over there?
With FBI, no,
No,
No.
I thought you used to have.
No ADs.
Just as long as the investigator.
6 years, at least 6 years.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Kath, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to clarify. So the white collar task force is made up of like everybody in Orange County or different departments in Orange County? And then we oversee the whole thing at this point?
What it is it's made up generally, the consistent partners that were there from the beginning and work most of the cases are DA investigators and sheriff's investigators. However, many police departments, I'm not going to mention town of Newburgh, have individuals that are also dedicated there that work there part-time, in a sense. And so there's, I'm missing some of them off the top of my head, but there's at least 7 police departments that also have individuals that attend the meetings, that assist on the cases, and things of that nature.
And who's overseeing all that now? I mean, obviously, we're looking to put somebody in there to oversee this, but do we have anybody at this current time that's overseeing in?
That's an excellent question. So I oversee it from the district attorney's office side, but I'm an attorney, not an investigator. The sheriff's office does have several investigators and a senior investigator that oversees it from an investigative standpoint with respect to most of it. We also need another senior investigator to oversee it from the DA perspective, as well as from the task force officers from various different departments.
Okay.
I hope I explained that.
Yeah, well, just, with it being multiple departments and everything, that's why I was wondering how it was working now, who's actually, overseeing it.
Right.
So it kind of explains the need for this, so that you have somebody that's on the ground. Last question on this position here, is this something, I mean, obviously, this is gonna continue for years, because we've just become a society like that. I know John's, got a lot of experience and a lot of time and all that. Are we going to be looking to?
It can be swapped around
Okay,
within house. If somebody retires, somebody goes to another position.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor of the amended request?
I
Anyone opposed? So carried. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Have a great
Thank you.
afternoon. Okay, next up is the Sheriff's Department. I see several representatives. Come on up, folks. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, how are you guys?
Good. We have a request to create 1 civil manager position, grade 14, step 2. The starting salary for grade 14, step 2 is $34.65 an hour, or $72,072.62 annually. Funds will come from the existing budget. Legislative request number 249, motion and second. Kathy. There. Okay, floor is yours.
So this employee is a CSEA employee that's been working at a title for many years. She was previously in the title Associate Account Clerk too, but she's really a manager. She oversees a staff of 10 people. She supervises them, approves their leave, their payroll, does her annual evaluations. She also runs the entire civil division, which moves millions of dollars through its doors every year. She is required to have an extensive knowledge of all of the laws and statutes and know how to apply them to the work that she does. She reports directly to me. There's no other lower supervisor that she works with. She has the autonomy and the latitude to make decisions in that office. She works directly with the county attorney. She also works directly with the counsel for the New York State Sheriff's Association. And like I said, she's been working out of class for many, many years and should be paid commensurate with the work that she does.
This, it come up before. So, anyone have any questions? Legislator O'Donnell.
How many years has she been the supervisor of this unit?
She's been supervising the unit for, I want to, more than 4.
4 years?
Yeah, but she's been with the office for probably 30. Yes, she's very knowledgeable.
And you plan on eliminating her position, or are you going backfilling?
We would like to backfill it for several reasons. I mean, partially because we need to start preparing people to take over overseeing that office. And there should be some opportunity for our civilian staff to have growth and promotional opportunities, I think, within that division, because it's important that we retain them because the work that they do is so specific only to the sheriff's office. So I would hate to see any of them leave after we've invested so much time and training in them.
Well, actually, this the opposite of what you just said.
Why?
But she's going from 9 to 10. right, she supervises.
She's going from a 10 to a
Well,
14.
not her, I'm talking about the number of people.
Oh, yeah, so we'd like to backfill that one.
Right, so by backfilling, you're creating more people competing for the top job. Okay? So
Yes.
that's obviously
But we
what
also
you
have,
say.
we also have a significant amount of backlog that has to get processed in there,
Oh, that's
which
right.
also
Okay.
generates more revenue. The more work that they get done, there's piles and piles of work that has to get
That's a
processed.
better explanation.
And the total number of people is like, I think there's like 5 full-timers, 3
Some are part-time.
part-timers. One we brought back for as like a 1099
Contractor.
because the continuity seems to be an issue in that office, you know, to
Yes.
retain some of the knowledge.
Thank you, Chairman.
Legislator Patu, go ahead.
So it's just funds to come from existing budget, it's just one of the other vacant positions you're taking the money from?
No, it's probably just gonna come from the payroll line item that we have there and try to make it work the best we can. I'm sure budget will tell us if we're short somewhere and we have to make it up.
Anyone else? Legislator O'Donnell.
So this was not in the 25 budget as presented? That's what he
Yeah,
did.
really,
Is that what you were asking?
basically.
Okay. I'm probably not sure.
No, it's
No,
not.
no.
So it's a new position.
This came after the budget process.
It started because of the desk audit. So
Right,
it's really in a position that,
but, so the one that you want to backfill is funded. This is the new position.
Yeah.
Correct. So that has nothing to do with vacancy.
Right. I'm good with that.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes. Legislator Benton, go ahead.
So since we're using the money from associate account clerk for this position, they can't just automatically fill that position without coming back to us because of the money.
They're not technically saying they're using that money to fill this position, they're saying they're using the existing budget, so it's not a direct offset from one position to the other. You kind of could look at it either way. They do have vacancies that can cover this, they have a survey.
Okay.
So
it's coming from the budget, not necessarily a line item. We might have to make it up, might have to make it up from a couple lines, yeah.
What kind of one?
The
Consultant?
lines on the lines on the budget, not any other type of lines.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, there's 20 different account, you know,
Yeah, there's a lot of.
yeah, so
Right.
if there's
So
over,
what do you figure you can cut there to make up
Yeah.
for this?
whatever, we have to try to make it work, you know. The show must go on in that office, so.
Would you be backfilling immediately as well?
No,
So, I mean,
That's what I was getting.
yeah, so I think that's why I was following up, because I kind of understood that the same way. So if you're moving that person from here and it's a desk audit and you're moving to the grade 14 position, okay, and you're looking to keep the position that 10, and so forth, since it's, the first position is not in the budget, you couldn't use that money because it's a desk audit, because you're taking that one person and you're changing that job description to. So even though I'm kind of confused on why we're creating something rather than doing the desk audit and changing that one particular position, unless you're looking to actually get 2 separate positions. So you want to give the person who's handling this now at a 10, the new position that we're creating so that it fulfills the desk audit, but that would still leave the other one, and if you're doing the, Lang, you gotta explain this, if they're doing the desk audit on that particular position.
Yep.
Okay, so you're changing that job,
Correct.
but
you're
how does that?
Creating a
fall
new
on-
job.
You're creating a new job because the current job does not meet the standards that the
Okay.
current incumbent is doing more than their job is supposed to be doing. So we're creating a new position and that person will move up. And then if the sheriff has enough money, the sheriff can backfill the other position.
Okay, that was explained a lot easier, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so carried. Thank you, folks. Have a great
Thank you all.
afternoon. Okay, next up is our Commissioner of the Department of Emergency Services, Mr. Sirigliano. Good afternoon, Commissioner. Okay, number 1, request to create, if you look at these carefully, they're actually getting rid of number 2 first, or, you know, but they're getting rid of a position. So just make sure you see that. if you haven't already. Request to create one Deputy Commissioner of Emergency Services, Division of Emergency Medical Services, full-time management grade 25, funded by county taxation. Legislative request number 244. Can I have a motion and a second?
I'll second that.
Kathy and Tom. Okay, Commissioner, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Pretty much you're all aware of the emergency medical services, the demands, the changes that are coming up in that field in particular. And the Deputy Commissioner, Frank Castellanite, is going to be retiring at the end of the year. And we need to bring a new person online in a full-time capacity. There's a tremendous amount of demand in EMS services, the coordination of trainings, AED training, CPR training for the youth, in addition to the mutual aid responses that we've been having, especially the large-scale ones throughout the county. For example, we're going on 10 days in a row here in Greenwood Lake, and Deputy Commissioner Castellanite has done a phenomenal job spending 12 to 14 hours a day minimum every day for the last 10 days. So it just supports the need for this position to be full-time. There's a heavy demand. There's a lot of logistical planning and support of our local municipalities in the EMS world. And he does an outstanding job working with his coordinators to make that happen.
Any questions?
This is in the budget already then?
Yes, it is correct.
Let's do it, Tom.
I don't have anything on this, but thanks for the job you're doing out there with the fires. I know you're not getting much sleep yourself, so thank you.
It's a tremendous team effort, and to see the volunteers coming from throughout New York State, from Long Island, 4 hours upstate, volunteer firemen, EMS, I mean, it's tremendous.
Thank you.
State Fire, so thank you, and I will pass your message. Thank you very much.
Could I ask the status of it?
Sure. As of this morning, 88% containment for the fire. Over 5,000 acres have burnt. 3,000, a little over 3,000 have burnt in New York State. The remainder was in New Jersey. The containment line is well established. The goal today was we had a steady wind from the northwest, was to make sure that we maintained our contingency line, the fire line. And that was the goal for today. So it was active patrolling that contingency line, making sure it doesn't cross the barrier. As long as we can get through today, we're expecting some good weather come Wednesday. When I say good, it's rain. Some rain Wednesday into Thursday. We need that in the worst way, this drought. I think, honestly, at the end of the day, I think the only way this storm gets, this fire gets knocked down is with a substantial amount of rain and or snow to really put it down. But it's been a battle. It's been a constant battle. And a lot of times at night, when we leave our mission at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, a lot of things happen on an overnight, and then we pick it back up. But we're doing okay. We made a lot of good ground, but it's a tug of war.
Has it burned any houses?
It has not. We've protected all structures, and that's I'm talking about along Edgemere Road. You have probably a dozen homes. Literally, this fire is on the backside of those homes. You have firemen and women that are on the back porches of these homes, spraying it as it approaches. It's an incredible job, and I'm very proud of the work that they're doing.
Wow. Tom.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner, thank you for the info, and thank everybody for all their hard work. In emergencies and situations like this, the structure of our county government through the executive branch becomes the point operation in all of this. And we as a legislature, we are there to support the executive branch and all of the efforts from the county exec and of course down through you. And so if any time along the way, there's something that this legislature can do, speaking as majority leader, we're ready and willing to step up to the plate and be there for you. So
it's important because county executive, as you all know, has been out there every day. He's been, and I've been speaking to him multiple times every day. But I've also had outreach from a lot of you, and just hey, whatever we can do. And it's crucial. I mean, the local community there is it's just unbelievable what that community is doing. The volunteers that are at that firehouse, giving the food, giving the hydrating, everybody going out, and then the support from the county. It's just been one team effort, and I can't. You're right. It's been a long 10 days, but we have the job to do, and we got to finish the job. And I can't complain because everybody else is doing the same thing. No complaining.
well, thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Rob,
yes, I'm sorry, Katie.
if you don't mind. First of all, getting back to the resolution before us, I wholeheartedly agree that this is very timely and we should be moving forward with it. We see how our world is changing here, especially with the EMS services. It's really critical, so. And on the other hand, I want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. A huge congratulations to you, but first also, the fact that you're here today is a testament to your professionalism and your dedication to your position. And given the circumstances and what has been happening over the last 10 days and your involvement, I really appreciate you being here today. And I hope you get some rest. And please send our sentiments
I
to
will.
all of the first responders out there. And we keep them in our prayers.
I will.
They've done a tremendous job.
More work to do, but thank you.
I will
Well
share,
deserved.
when I spoke to the commissioner earlier today, he said, I won't be really dressed up today, and I said, we understand. So I thought I'd add that, so we do appreciate it.
Do we know how it started?
It's currently under investigation. There's a joint team effort between police departments in New Jersey and New York, DA's office. They're working hard on that.
Great. Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Okay, 2 goes along with this, request to abolish 1 Deputy Commissioner of Emergency Services, Division of Emergency Medical Services, part-time management, grade 25. Once position is vacant upon the adoption of the 2025 budget, legislative request number 244. Motion and second.
Second.
Kathy and Mike. Okay. Self-explanatory or
Self-explanatory.
any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so carried. Commissioner, thanks again. Be
Thank
safe.
you. Thank you very much.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Okay, Roman numeral 4, Lacey Trimble, our Commissioner of Social Services and Mental Health. Lacey is here. Good afternoon, Lacey. And there is a request to reclassify 1 fiscal technician, grade 14, to a fiscal manager, grade 15, funding to come from operating budget. Legislative request number 259. Can I have a motion and a second? Second. Kathy and Kevin Darren. Okay. Commissioner, floor is yours. Go ahead.
This request is a result of a desk audit that the employee requested. The work that she's been doing over the last few years has increased in complexity due to changes in the state regulations around fiscal reporting for our agencies and for our county department. So a result of the audit was a recommendation to increase this from a 14 to a 15. She's done a phenomenal job. We would be eliminating the position that she is leaving.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Anyone opposed?
Well, I'm an aye, but I have a question. Where are we so far? I know the state just passed a law below 32 degrees.
Code Blue happens every year. Anytime it drops below 32, we have to house everyone, regardless of any restrictions that have been placed on them. We've had a few of those nights already this year. Our shelters are at capacity, so we've been having to place people in hotels, but that's been an ongoing issue for us even before Code Blue, where we have more people, particularly families, in hotels than we have ever had before. The last report I have, it was 133 families were in a hotel and then individuals on top of that in hotel rooms. We are working to put some more services in place to try to help families in particular gain financial stability, gain employment, those things so that they can get out of hotels and into permanent housing. That is through state funding that was approved earlier in the year to be added to our budget. So we're hopeful that that'll get off the ground soon and help with this.
So with 133 currently in hotels, is there any plan to move them somewhere else where
There isn't a
more
place.
cost effective?
The hotels are actually more cost effective than the shelters because the hotels have no services attached to them. The shelters, so we're feeding, there are staff, the hotels, they're in a room without those supports. We are looking at options to expand availability of shelter, but it's a long process to get through all of the state approvals to make that happen.
Thank you. It is not fiscally able to actually look at rentals for them versus the hotels and all that, which would give them something that they can already be, which makes it a little bit easier to actually get settled in, to get your kids settled in, to actually look for a job, because you have an address, you have, and a lot of employers will look at that as not being, correct, so. And I know that we do have a shortage as far as even a lot of our rentals, so even if they were able to do that, do we have the ability to put them in places or for them to be in places? Because I would think it would be a lot cheaper on, them and more beneficial as far as physical, mental and health. If we had the ability to actually rent for that.
We do have a rental supplement program in Orange County, state funded program that I believe we have about $988,000 in state funds in that is helping people to maintain their rent so that they can stay in their home. This past budget, we added an additional $200,000 in county taxation to enhance the rental supplement program because it is the most cost-effective way to prevent homelessness, keep people in stable housing, and not have them in our shelters.
So first off, thank you. So kind of a two-part question. One, are there any limits for, so one of the things that we're seeing is that rents have gone up substantially, right? Just in the last couple of years, we've seen rents that are 1, 2 bedroom that can go from $1,600 to $2,300 and up. And sometimes we've noticed that, the money doesn't necessarily go with what the increase in those rents have been. So my first question is like, the funds that we're seeing that are going through our departments, are they actually sufficient for what we're actually, what the actual rents are? Because having worked in human service for a long time, I can say that it's generally not been the case, right? Like that usually there's just not enough money for those individuals. So like, we know these individuals are, they can't afford rent, right? So that's really the big thing. And so the question is like, where do we fill the gap or where they can't fill that? That's number one. And number two, you had mentioned that we have these rapid rehousing funds. And is there any, like, what is the criteria or what might be a barrier that some individuals or some families might not be able to get this rapid rehousing fund versus others?
So
I know that was a lot.
generally, it depends on which stream of funding, whether it's enough to cover the cost of housing in our area. Most of them are based on the fair market value, which has not kept up with the reality of rents in any of New York that I'm aware of. So in short, most of them are not enough. We do have our agencies working very hard with landlords to find places that will work with our agencies with what they are able to get in state funding to provide the rent piece of that equation, because it's rent and services for most of those. The ESHI funding that comes through the state is hard to get off the ground, but it is a more reasonable amount of money per unit once those are established. We do have some of those slots in Orange County, and they have worked well when they can get through the whole process of getting the capital and building and working with developers. I think there could always be more from the state on those funds. And if we could make it easier, we would have more housing options. As far as the eligibility, in order to be eligible for the rental supplement program, to help assist in maintaining your rent, you have to be able to contribute enough to continue rent so that we're not paying somebody's rent for this month, but then they're going to become homeless next month. It is ongoing funding. So a lot of these individuals are on fixed income. So this is keeping them whole. They may have Social Security disability benefits, and this is paying that extra percentage of their rent to keep them in their house.
A follow-up question, if I may, Mr. Chairman. So one of the other things that we notice, is it's not just the first month's rent, it's the security, it's the first month's rent, it's, and yes, then they cannot, many of them are not able to afford that, but then it's also the utilities that we're going into the winter. They don't even know what utilities are gonna look like. Central Hudson seems to, I'm not gonna attack anybody right now, but some energy companies, do not necessarily, their rates have gone up quite sizably, right? They fluctuate quite regularly. And those prices have obviously put a strain on our constituents, our community members who, going into December, January, February, those rates are gonna go up, they're not gonna know how much their bill's gonna look like until they get it. And like, so what are we doing in terms of like energy costs and so on to support, these same individuals who are already struggling to get into their homes?
So heat season is in full swing, so it's November 1st, the season opened, but we did do early outreach this year
Excellent.
to start processing applications earlier. So instead of getting, 20, 30, maybe 50 applications a week in October, we were getting hundreds of applications a week in October. Last week, we got over 1,300 applications for heat. So they are processing them as fast as they can to help people to do those bills. Some people are getting assistance with repairing and maintaining their furnaces, things like that through that program as well.
Have the parameters by which people qualify for that, have that changed? My apologies.
No, they are set by the state and they're standard.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Lee, go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment, energy companies do have charitable programs that they follow for millions of dollars every year. So you have a census of these people now and you track them daily as to where they are and their situations, okay? And that will continue every day throughout the winter. So my only comment is that, we know the people and we know because we track them, but times, like I know one time a year, City of Newburgh does a census.
Yep.
And it always seems like it's low.
Point in time count.
Point in time count, right?
It's-
So it always seems like, it's low because, we know who at a point in time count, who we have been tracking and have not found. So are they still counted in the point of time or is it point of time count only who you actually saw?
The point in time count is just that snapshot of
Yeah.
who they found that day when they
Right.
were doing the outreach and looking for people who were homeless. I actually have here, because I have Human Services Committee tomorrow.
Anticipated your question.
The numbers,
Because obviously some people don't want to be found, but in good weather, we have a census.
This goes back to homeless served through September. And it was 807 individuals who received some kind of service in September. And that is a variety of services. Some of them may be in our warming station at the Welcome Center in Newburgh, some of them may be housed.
Just want to make sure that we're following through and following.
Okay, so now I want to follow up, thank you. Do we have an estimate of people who are not wanting to be found or are, the ones that don't want contact with anybody that could possibly be living on the streets or somewhere in Orange County that we don't know, or we know about but don't know about because we don't?
I think our most accurate number is the point in time count for that each year because we're going out on the street and finding people. But we have warming stations and we know those are at capacity when we're during the code blue season. So we know people, Middletown, I think, has 30 slots in their warming station. Those are all filled all the time. So we know we have at least that many people in each community. Most of them come from the communities that the stations are in, but it's a big problem right now across the state. So we're finding that we have people who are homeless in all communities across Orange County right now.
What I'm hearing is invest in affordable housing.
That affordable housing is economical.
Mike and then Jeff.
I go into that for 7 years.
Just to go back to the heat program. A few years back, I think 4 years back, I was working with the Office of the Aging, and we found that some of the providers were ripping off the people who were getting heat benefits. We have a way to check on that, and I'll give you an example. The company was charging them for high-end fuel instead of just giving them regular fuel oil because they said their tank was outside. So they give them kerosene instead of number 2 fuel oil. So they get this much instead of this much. And so when we talked about it, they actually got kicked off our list for 2 years. You know what I'm talking about? Okay.
And
So do we check on that at all? Or have we gotten complaints where as soon as you get a complaint, do you check on that?
I have not received any complaints since I've been in this position, but we do take complaints in through the office and then those are investigated if there's any concern. And that's part of the contract monitoring with any of them that we give funding, that we have to ensure that it went to the right
And
place.
how do you ensure that the people that are providing heat, they have to pay, they have to provide it for a certain amount? How do you know that's exactly happening? How do you?
we have the invoices and we compare that to what we're paying for. So that what we paid for has to match what we anticipated receiving. If somebody were to falsify records, I'm not sure how we would prove that, but we do make sure that everything matches before the invoice is paid.
So you're on top of that game. But I'm just, some people might be, not even know that. They come, they give them a number of kerosene and you only get so much, then they just say, well, I used up all my allotment for the year, so that's all I get. And in fact, they're really getting ripped off. So there's no way really to check that unless somebody complains that, yeah, right?
Yeah, they would have to notify us. I don't know how else we find out.
Okay, thank you.
Let's say we're done.
Just the last point, which was my first point. Basically, what happens from a police sense, okay? We pick up these people in the middle of the night. The shelter's full. You have to take them back to the police station and basically babysit. So you have police that are supposed to be out there preventing crime, now turned into babysitting. Because the hotel's full, the warming center's full. And I think I've been talking about this, and so that you, all of us, for each year I'm here. And, you know, you mentioned the state with their regulations, but something's gotta be done. We just can't come every year when fall and winter and us talk about there's a problem coming. And what are we gonna do about it? Because we have the same exact conversation every year. If we need more warming stations, which I definitely think we do, then somebody's gotta step up, whether it's individual towns or the county, but somebody has to step up to keep our police on the street and not turn them into babysitting and doing their job. This, now it's, what do you call, code blue night, right? But legally, under 32 degrees, it's coming. You said there's already been a couple of nights, so that's the bigger problem I see, is taking police away from what we're paying them to do. Right? Besides taking care of the people that need to be taken care of. They shouldn't get stuck in a police station overnight. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Crime is down. So getting back to heat. So do we know where everybody's tank is? Because obviously what Mike is talking about is an outside tank. You get your fuel and they put in a $6 bottle of additive and you're okay.
You don't need it with that. That's what they should be doing, giving them number 2 oil and putting in the additive. They do the opposite, they just give them.
That's what we're talking about. To do it right, you get your fuel, whatever that is. Okay, I'm not a fuel guy, but I know you put the additive in and you're okay. It doesn't freeze in the line. So do we know through the survey of people who have outdoor tanks that should be getting additives?
I would have to find that out. I'm not sure.
If you can, that's fine. But you see what I'm saying?
Or it should be a requirement.
If it's a
maybe.
crooked company, they're doing it to all of us as well,
Right.
so, I mean, it's gonna be everybody.
But I mean, it could be a requirement that if it's an outside tank, you need to put an additive in with that money, you know, not say nothing and say, oh, kerosene, it's outside. You don't want it to
That's
freeze.
the point. If we know as this, oversight, that it's outside, we know what the rate should be, and we know outside, a little bit extra for an additive, rather than a large increase in dollars per gallon. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing no other questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Commissioner, have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, last but not least, Roman numeral 5, we have our Chair of the Orange County Legislature, Catherine Benelli, and our Commissioner of Human Resources, Mr. Langley Chapman. Come on up with a variety of local laws. I'll just kind of, I think I can go through, just mention all of them. I don't have to go individually or.
So move.
If you want to do them all collectively, you can.
Yeah, motion to move them collectively. Motion by Lee, second by Kathy?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so there's a series of
No, this is just a vote on
collectively.
Once we go through them.
We're gonna go through them all
Yeah,
first.
yeah, yeah, and then vote collectively.
But what if you end up wanting to vote
You
for
can
one?
break
You
them
can
off.
make
Yeah,
an amendment.
So you make the
Yeah, we
amendment
can do
first.
that.
So I'd
Yeah.
rather we don't
Yeah.
do a vote for them collectively. Because there might be some that
You
we.
can vote for them individually, yeah, yeah, but to discuss them.
Oh, that's fine.
That's
Excuse me,
what I
my
like,
apologies.
yeah, I just want them to kind of go
Thank you so
through,
much.
and then when it comes to voting, we can take them one at a time.
That's perfect. Thank you so much,
Absolutely,
Mr. Chair.
Okay, so folks, the floor is yours. I'll let you go 1 through 6 with each one and questions and comments. Good
Thank you,
afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it. I'm going to take you back to the summertime, and I've come before this committee as what was the Rules Committee before. In the summer, I had a conversation with our Commissioner of Human Resources and to start working on some methodology to be able to move forward with affixing salaries for the position of legislature, statutory chair, minority party leaders, as well as chairman and the county executive and the county clerk. I think you all can go back and remember the first presentation that the Commissioner of Human Resources made. It outlined quite a bit of information for us to digest. It also outlined a new methodology to use, similar to the desk audits that many of you have been talking about here this afternoon. And at that particular, under those circumstances, after we received that, we did move on the request of the commissioner to, in fact, come up with a leadership group, which he communicated with. And they had met a number of times. Those included minority and majority leader, as well as the conservative party member, as well as the independence party member. And kept networking back and forth, which brings us to today. So, Mr. Chapman, I turn it over to you, sir.
I think the numbers are largely self-explanatory. I know anytime you deal with salaries for elected officials, it's tough. I mean, you've got a political balance versus a mathematical data-driven balance. I gave you a strictly data-based argument here. And you've somewhat, I think, compromised in the middle of clearly the data shows you as legislators are grossly underpaid compared to your colleagues in other counties. You haven't gone with this proposal as far as I think the data permits you have gone, but I think you've gone in a strong way to make your offices much more competitive of where more people will want to run. But I would suggest the most important thing you've done is you've built in a 4-year scale, tying yourselves to CSEA, which is how you've handled the rest of county management. You've built into the management pay caps an annual increase under the plan you adopted, the Swede Advice Report last year. And you're doing the same thing for yourselves, which, look, do I certainly think you could justify for those of you who are here more money? I do. But I think you've made a significant step in the right direction here to pay new people who want to run for office and existing incumbents a closer salary to what you're worth of the job. So I can go through the numbers, but the numbers speak for themselves for each of the documents.
And I would like to add to, as using this particular template moving forward, it does outline for future legislative bodies something to be able to rely on as they move forward with the next 4 years of fixing salaries beyond 2029. And fixing it, kind of relating it to the contracts. So, and I want to thank, first of all, not only Mr. Chapman, but the party leaders, all parties. And they worked very, very hard, especially the majority leader and the minority leader who had to reach out to their respective caucuses. So at this time, Mr. Pageant, did you want to say anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to compliment you. When the discussion started about the local laws that we have to set by our charter, you made it a point to make sure to bring in HR commissioner, but also bring in the leadership here in the legislature. And it wasn't something that was just short-term. You put it together so that we would have a working group to get to where we are to today. So I want to thank you for that. Commissioner, I want to thank you. You did your work. I mean, we were here today. How many desk audits did we review today here in other topics? I think there was 3 or 4 of them. And in essence, what you created for us was a desk audit of this role in this legislative body. And I want to thank you for your presentation, your discussions, and also your methodology of where you came to your conclusions. More times than not, we turn to our commissioners and we listen to them as experts, as we did here today. And your information on what you call the public official salaries based upon data and equity was very strong. And I appreciate the time and effort that you put into that. After that was presented, working with the chairwoman and other party leaders, we looked at things here and I think that these numbers represent, as you mentioned, the strongest case going forward to try to help mitigate this becoming a political issue. And also just to make it common sense and logical so that, as Madam Chair mentioned, in the future, other legislative bodies can look at this and say, they set the standards exactly the way it should be. We're going to continue along that path so that it is straightforward and it just continues to keep that path moving forward. So I want to thank the chairwoman and I want to thank the commissioner for that. Chairman, I think these numbers are smart. They speak for themselves and I hope that everyone votes in the affirmative.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, thank you, Commissioner, for the information. I know the numbers were skewed all over. This seems very reasonable, very rational, and it does, Katie, she said, kind of sets a template for the future. It removes the politics from it so that the legislatures going forward in the next term and the term after and after, where most of us here, of course, won't be here, but others won't have to grapple with, this touchy issue here. So it's reasonable, it's fair, so.
It was also objective that was never discussed in previous times when we looked at the elected officials' salaries. So I think, we're thinking towards the future and things like that. And I didn't know if Minority Leader Paducah wanted to say anything or Mr. O'Donnell because they were part of the leadership group as well. I do thank them both.
Go ahead, man. I would just, John Ranky, wait till the next election, I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay. I know originally when I had a question this when the study came back on salaries. Now we left out the elected position salaries and we talked about the district attorney and whomever else was on that study. And I know you didn't mention much about the study, but I think you said that the study in leadership came back as saying the legislators be making somewhere around 86,000.
The study came back even higher than I came back.
And then you prepared your thing, it came to us, and we, as a group, I think after we discussed it, thought it was too high as well. So now I think the way you presented it now, and just tell me for sure that I know you're trying to follow CSEA's schedule.
Yes.
Is that what we're doing? So whatever they get, we get.
Whatever they get over the next 4 years, you'll get it.
And that makes it fair to me. I think you've done a great job bringing it to this point after everything we've talked about.
Thank you.
Well, the committee did a good job. You did a great job with the numbers. They didn't agree with you. They were afraid to give themselves 80,000. They'd have the electorate throw everybody out of office. But as usual, I will throw a little monkey wrench in this. So you have a majority and minority, right? So what happens next year from January? And the legislature has, for example, say 11 Republicans.
21?
11 Republicans.
21? Sounds good.
11 Republicans. Six conservatives. And 4 Democrats. What happens then?
Never.
You guys can think.
Would conservatives still be considered a minority party then? So they would still get the salary for a minority.
No, it was, we changed something.
Because it's another party, so the.
Let's your Langdon, because we have looked at this before. Also historically, we went back and we did have a Independence Party member that was considered a leader. And after a period of time, that leader was also given a stipend. That stipend had been removed and the language was also changed. So Langdon or Betsy, I will defer to the experts. You can toss it back and forth.
Council, go ahead.
So last year, we did repeal the law that had party leaders. So there is only a majority and minority party leader. To that extent, local law the one that addresses the majority and minority leaders of the county that's number 3 on the agenda here. And section 3 states that in the event there is a tie in the number of members in the 2 major political parties, as that term is defined in New York State election law, so that a majority and minority leader cannot be determined, and the party leaders with the 2 highest numbers of members of the legislature shall be entitled to compensation as provided in this local law. They would fall within the majority and or minority leader definition, as this legislature has chosen to define that.
So in the scenario I just gave, the conservatives would be the
The
second.
minority party, correct?
And the Dems wouldn't get anything. Just so you know. Okay. That's right, you guys voted out.
There's 11
When we
Democrats.
changed it.
Maybe 6 and 5.
Well, none of us have a
Anyway,
crystal
just-
ball,
Right.
so.
Okay.
But
All
we
right, any
do
further
rely on
questions on the 6 items here?
The only comment I'll tell you is that the CSA contract goes to the end of 28, so we're going through 29. So you've extrapolated a little bit, but in a very logical way. I just want to say that for the record.
All right, and then we would vote individually on these? Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Because
All
they're
right.
local.
Seeing no further questions, then I'll go through the 6 individually.
Do you need individual motions and seconds for each one?
Well, I would recommend that.
Okay, so motion and a second on number 1.
I make that motion.
A second. Gion and Paduk. Okay. Local law amending local law number 2 of 2020, fixing the compensation for legislators of the Orange County Legislature to be effective for the term commencing on January 1, 2026, pursuant to section 2.02S of the Orange County Charter. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
1 opposed. Motion carries. Number 2, a local law amending local law number 3 of 2020, fixing the compensation for chairpersons of the statutory committees of the Orange County Legislature to be effective for the term commencing on January 1, 2026, pursuant to section 2.02S of the Orange County Charter. Motion and a second,
I make
please.
that motion.
Fagion
Second.
and Ben. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
1 opposed. Number 3, a local law amending local law number 5 of 2020, fixing the compensation for the majority and minority leaders of the Orange County Legislature to be effective for the term commencing on January 1, 2026, pursuant to section 2.02S of the Orange County Charter.
I'll make
Motion
that
and a
motion.
second, Fagion. Second, please.
Second.
Benton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
1 opposed. Roman numeral 4, a local law amending local law number 7 of 2020, fixing the compensation for the chairperson of the Orange County Legislature to be effective for the term commencing on January 1, 2026, pursuant to section 2.02S of the Orange County Charter.
I make that motion.
Fagion, second, please.
Second.
Second by Benton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
1 opposed. Number 5, a local law amending local law number 8 of 2020, fixing the compensation for the county clerk of Orange County to be effective for the term commencing on January 1, 2026, pursuant to section 2.02G of the Orange County Charter.
I make that motion.
Fagion and Kathy. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Number 6, a local law amending local law number 9 of 2020, fixing the compensation for the county executive of Orange County to be effective for the term commencing on January 1, 2026, pursuant to section 2.02G of the Orange County Government Charter.
I'll make that motion.
Fagion, second, Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
1 opposed. Okay. And again, these are all effective in the next term, so the public is clear. This is not for the current legislature.
That is correct.
Okay. All right.
Hey, quickly.
Yes.
Can I make a motion that if you vote, any legislator who votes no on the floor for these cannot accept the salary?
Commissioner Gaudo will take your check.
Okay.
You can always turn it back to the majority.
Yeah, you state it this way.
Um,
Thank you.
Just a
motion to
point.
adjourn.
And
So moved.
Duly noted.
All right,
Relevant.
we have E and E up next, and Majority Leader Fascione will be doing that immediately, right?